Tonight on the 6th, give me one second, I got to make sure. There we go. Tonight on the 6th, we are making history for the first time ever. We have a female on the panel, Allie from R3đ. Go ahead and wave to the crowd. There we go. What we are talking about is, does the red pill save lives? This was actually Kevin Sabo's idea, but we are going to talk about that next. The 6th starts right now. What's up, guys? It's your man, Donovan Sharpe, and welcome to the 6th. I, of course, am your host, Donovan Sharpe. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for making us a part of your Saturday routine. Listen, I'm not going to waste a lot of time. Let's go around and introduce the panel. First up, from way out in Connecticut, it is the man, the myth, the legend, Captain Sabo himself. It's Kevin Sabo. What's going on, brother? Unmute yourself, please. That's all right.
Okay. Yep. And you know what? They're still unable to be saved.
Don't sweat it. He says we still can't save these hoes. No.
I've been doing all I can, but
well, I mean, listen, you can't. Sometimes hoes don't really want to be saved. Next up, the incomparable Hotep Jesus. What's going on, Hotep?
Hotep Jesus, dude.
Here we go. Wow. What's going on with Tariq,
family?
Man?
Like
when
good,
is
good,
Nasheed
man.
gonna get off your nuts, bro?
It's a pleasure, and salutations to the lady joining us tonight.
Yes,
welcome.
Sir. Absolutely. Next, oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I already did him. Next up, the godfather of the manosphere himself. It is the great and powerful Rollo Tomasi.
How you doing? How you doing? Who am I pissing off this week? I don't know.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Who knows?
Somebody tell me.
Listen, man, it normally does not take long. Next up, it is the ordained minister of the streets. It's Minister Jep.
Oh, you already know, man. Mister, gotta keep a bulletproof vest because the tricks want to clap me.
You know it. You know it.
I know, man.
Next up, easily the best dressed man on the panel. I'm actually starting to hate on EO here because he's really upstaging me here. Dude, my man's got the whiskey. He's got the smell good. It's Coach Everett.
Got it all, man.
Brother?
Yeah, that jealousy is real, man. Hey, shout out to the panel and our special guest. Tonight, the fragrance of the evening is by Killian, Vodka on the Rocks. You got to get this fragrance. This is an instant, what they call a panty dropper, which I think that's cheesy as fuck. But this is a dope ass fragrance. So get it in your rotation. Vodka on the Rocks by Killian. I'm Coach EO, and it begins and ends with the man on my side.
You know it. By the way, a little known fact: Coach EO was clean shaven this morning. It takes him no time.
That's right.
To grow that beard. Yeah. Last but certainly not least, the first ever female panelist on the 6th. She's a little nervous, so let's try to be a little bit nice to her. It is Allie V of @RealFemSapien. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited.
Now,
I like your teeth. You got nice teeth,
dude. Nice.
well, thank you. I'll try not to laugh too hard, but you guys, y'all are hysterical, so it's gonna be tough.
We try. So Allie is before the guys in the chat, start roasting Allie V. She's actually engaged to a high value man. Well, how do you know he's high value? This motherfucker drives an Audi R8. I mean, dude, that's it. She wins. She wins. But seriously, it's good to have Allie on the panel with us. I'm going to be doing this quite frequently as time goes on. I'm going to try to integrate men and women on the panel. You guys know that a lot of people like to, you guys, echo chamber and blah, 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 blah. And it's interesting. We'll talk about this a little later on today, but Allie talks about the difference between an echo chamber and a community. And I thought that was a very, very, that's it. She wins. I thought that was very apropos, so we'll probably talk about that at some point in the not too distant future. But we are going to lead things off with Kevin Sabo. Now, Kevin, you actually you sent me a text last Sunday. Said, "Hey, Donovan, something that we should really talk about on the 6th is how the red pill saves lives, because a lot is said about our community. We have a lot of detractors, but we also have a lot of support. But really what the red pill really does, and Rollo can obviously speak to this,
Right.
talk about how the red pill saves lives and why people don't really want to acknowledge that.
Well, I kind of want to tee this up for Rollo to take it from his experience, and he'll
Okay.
tell you about the people that have reached out to him and personally said that your book saved my life. And even Fresh and Fit have said that people have reached out to them and been like, I found your channel and it
Yep.
saved my life. And it just got me thinking about how our society is stunningly full of shit when we try to claim that as a society we're about suicide prevention.
Right.
But if a certain ideology or a certain bit of material that, let's say, is demonized by the mainstream or demonized by the left or you name it, isn't so socially acceptable, now we've devalued something that saved lives when we try to claim we're a society that's about suicide prevention.
Right.
And it's usually something that people find when they're down and out. It's just the right thing at the right time that snaps them out of whatever they're going through. And if it was your loved one that found a channel like this or a book like Rollo's, you named it, and they're still around because of that, you ought to be thankful. I mean, you ought to think about suicide prevention in a way that's it's different for everybody. You know what I mean? And if finding material like this has saved lives, which it has, I think it's kind of crazy to discount that because we don't agree with it as a society, or the mainstream doesn't agree with it.
No, I agree. And I'm going to come to Rollo next. And it's weird because I've been friends with Rollo for years, but I'm still starstruck by the guy. This guy has changed the lives of many, many people. Rollo, what, like, that's got to be a mind job, right? Like, how does that make you, like, what goes through your mind when you get email after email? Hey, Rollo, you saved my life. I mean, what's that like?
You know, I'll tell you, when people ask me about like suicide, or they talk to me about like, well, why did you get into doing what you do? And I think a lot of people think that the reason I got into like writing what I do as far back as like 2002. Again, I've been doing this for like 20 years, just about 20 years now.
Yeah.
And I've told the story before about my brother-in-law, who was my sister-in-law's husband, who ended up hanging himself as a result of their divorcing. And it was I mean, if you've heard me talk about it, I don't want to belabor it, the point right now,
Sure.
But I think a lot of people think that that's why I got into doing what I do. And it's really, I got into it more because I wanted to understand like people's, like, men and women's psychology. And then that was sort of something that I won't say it wasn't a catalyst, it was, but then I had another friend of mine who was a DJ here in Reno, and I mean like a radio DJ here in Reno, and ended up swallowing a bullet for much of the same reasons. And it wasn't so much the trying to sort out and parse out what was going on. It was what happened in the aftermath. And it was the rationalizations people used, and everyone trying to sort of find some sort of way of explaining to themselves according to whatever felt good to them at that time. Right. And so I happened to be going to university at that time, and I was double majoring. I have a BFA in Bachelor of Fine Arts, and I have a BA in behavioral psychology. And the reason I double majored was because I wanted to, first of all, put my money where my mouth was, because I was writing on SoSuave and everything at that time. But I was also, as part of my learning experience, I guess, I was also doing peer counseling with the guys who nobody wanted to have to do peer counseling with. So like I took the guys who were between like say 40 and 60 years old, and it was part of like sort of the progress. We had to like sit there and talk to people and sort of get to the experience. And mostly the guys that I was talking to men between the ages of about 40, 45 to about 60 or 65 right there. Wow, and all of these guys had the same story. It was all, I'm in a sexless marriage. What do I have to do to make her love me? And I'm staying in the marriage for the kids, or I just got divorced and now I'm suicidal, blah, blah, blah. And it was always the same kind of I know backstory that was going on, and that's like the unsexy side of psychology, by the way.
Sure,
it's not like
right.
it's one thing to go and talk about like, oh well, why do chicks like to have sex, right? That's the fun side of psychology. The not so fun side is when you're dealing with guys who are sort of picking up the pieces of their lives, and nobody wants to talk to these guys. So that's where I kind of got that start. But I got into doing what I do as far as like, you know, writing what I do and explaining things just because I wanted to know what was under the hood. Now, when I go to, you know, when I went to the 21 convention in 2017 and 2018, I had guys that would come out to the convention for the specific purpose of like shaking my hand and telling me that the book had saved their lives, right? That was, and I'm going to read to you here in a second once we sort of go around the table here. I'll read to you one of the guys sort of, I don't say testimonials, but one of the guys who was saying, this is what Rollo has done for me. I put a link to it in the chat there. There's a common essay that I always refer to, and it's called Confidence in the Safety Net. And I put that there
link
because,
in the chat.
yeah, once you have that sort of red pill awareness and that red pill understanding, you have a better, like you've read my book, or you don't even have to read my book, just get into the red pill space and become more, you know, sort of aware of intersexual dynamics. It puts things into a perspective that I don't think a lot of people really realize. And if you're in a really depressed, you know, despondent state, and suddenly somebody says, well, the reason for, you know, where you're at right now is X, Y, and Z, understanding just the reasoning is sometimes enough to go, oh, that's what I did wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what was going on. Where were you when I was, you know, 18 or 25 or 30 or something like that? And so I was starting to get more and more guys saying, hey man, your material really saved my life. And so I started this essay right around the time I wrote Positive Masculinity.
Right.
And so all these guys were coming in, and they were in the chat, and they were telling me, you know, their stories, and they just wanted to tell the story. Like there's over 1,000 comments, and of course I'm not going to read all of them to you, but there's over 1,000 comments in that essay, that the Confidence in the Safety Net, of guys saying, you know, either I was suicidal and I stopped my plans for suicide, or here's how you changed my life. Here's how I rethought my relationships. Here's how I lived a better life as a result of this. And yeah, you're right. It's really weird for me to have guys like come up to me and say, I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for saving, you know, or I'll have, I had a couple, a man and a woman who are parents, and they came up to me and says, our son is still alive because of you.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's like hard for me to sort of process, because every day I'm on YouTube, or I'm on social media. It was like, fuck you, all you're sucking. Your real name is this. I'm going to dox your daughter and your dogs too. You know, and then suddenly somebody comes up to you, and then like, I'll just show you real quick. I have this, this note right here that was handed to me at the Rebel Capitalist event back in June. And this is from a guy who's, this was his wife. And the guy was a longtime fan of mine. I knew him from like back in 2015, but his wife, if you can, I don't know if you can see this, but
yeah, I've got
she literally is like, you know, you could tell she was crying when she was writing this, because it's like, it's a handwritten note. And it says, Rollo, I am the mom of 3 grown boys. Most of my best friends have boys. Delivered your book to my best friend's son, who was struggling with a bad breakup and depression. This saved his life in more ways than one. Since then, I have recommended your book to all of our sons to arm them with the knowledge and tools to succeed in reality. Sincerely, and I'm not going to say her name, but sincerely her. And so I keep this in my notebook right here, because this is like just something that I get to remind myself when everybody's like shitting all over me. I go, what I'm doing is important. So.
Wow, very good, man. OTAP, that's going to be kind of a tough act to
in order for me to make my point, I'm going to need Coach EO to tell the story.
All right.
What happened to his arm?
Yeah, man. Well, I didn't even know you knew about that story. Oh, I did. Okay. All right. So I might as well go. You mind if I just give my quick take on it, and then I'll answer that question? All right. All right. So I look at it like this, like if you study the manosphere, some of these channels are like the clinic. Okay. You go to the clinic real quick, and you see just like a quick doctor. They give you a little something to fix you up. And then there's like a general practitioner that maybe you'll go to. He's a little bit more advanced, and he can sit with you and build a relationship and some rapport. And I'm like the fucking specialist.
Okay.
All right. So, and I say that because I get a lot of dudes from the red pill. I don't claim the red pill. I don't claim that. I'm not going to shit on it, but I don't claim that. But a lot of my clients come from the red pill, and they're like, man, when I hear you talk, I mean, you're fair and balanced. You point us to our coping mechanisms. You don't blame women. I never blame women for shit. As a matter of fact, I blame the man pretty much for everything. So I feel very comfortable doing that. And all of my experience, all of my teachings are from real life things that I've done. And I haven't read a Robert Greene book, although I own one. So I don't really go off of another man's words. I go from what I've experienced, what I've observed, and then I teach from that standpoint. That's number one. So I would say there's the clinic channels here in the Red Pill, which they can maybe give you some sort of answer. Then you go to a general practitioner, which you're going to get a few more answers and build a relationship possibly. But then if you're just too fucked up, you need somebody to go in there and cut that shit out. And that's what I do. All right.
Okay.
So I'll say this. I was at a rooftop party in Chicago a couple years back, drunk. This is what I teach. I teach guys not just about women. I mean, I feel like the red pill content or the manhood content should probably focus more on building the man up. I say it should be 75-25. 25% of the time you should be discussing women. 75% of the time you should be discussing the man. Right. That's how I see it. And I think it's too lopsided. Too many motherfuckers talking about women all day long, which is kind of embarrassing. Okay. And so I had a drinking problem. I was a successful guy in business, but I had a drinking problem. I used to binge drink. Didn't have a grip on that. It was a kind of a cope for me in a lot of ways. It was also just a bad habit that I worked up since my teens, really. Went to a rooftop party, started talking shit to a guy. I was with my girl at the time, a girl I was seeing. Started talking shit to a guy. He bum rushed me from the back as I'm leaving this party. I shattered my entire arm. Wow. Now I had to learn how to reuse my arm. I had to go through therapy. Never pressed charges on the guy. Never. As a matter of fact, he like pushed me. I fell, shattered my arm, got up. He was already like running back with his girlfriend to the car. And so, in short, I was 100% responsible for that. I was. I talked shit. I was drunk, and I never sought out to get him arrested or nothing. I owned it, and I live with that now. A lot of pain every single day. It's a great reminder, though, to never be inebriated like that again, and never put myself in that situation again. So, and I stopped drinking. I don't drink anymore. This is for show. If Donovan wants to come over, I'll pour him a glass of scotch, but yes, I have no temptation for that whatsoever. And I've completely cleaned up my life. And so that's what I'll say. There's a lot of boys in this community that think that they know the game of life, women, and yet they probably only got their heart broken one time and they think they know women and they don't know shit. And so this is what I'll say is that, are you complaining about women or are you teaching about women?
Woo,
so that would be my question to the manosphere.
Okay, very good. Hotep, so you got the story from EO. How does that play into what you're going to say?
Emotional control, right? Yep. So I'm going to tell a story. Got my ass kicked. So I was dating a girl, and I was in college. And I became friends with another girl. This is a Hispanic girl, and she was pretty damn fine herself. And we used to talk late at night on the phone. This is before text messaging. We didn't have those type of things. You actually had to talk on the phone if you wanted to get to know somebody. So we were talking on the phone late night, all the time. And she said that, she was into me or whatever. And I'm like, well, I have a girlfriend. I was full simp mode. I have a girlfriend. I can't do that, right? The hell was I thinking? So the girl got upset that I was acting like a straight dweeb. And then she ended up getting a boyfriend. So then one day I walk into the gym and somebody grabbed her ass, but I happened to be standing in the vicinity. And she turns around like, yo, why the hell did you grab my ass? She starts cussing me out. And I'm like, yo, I didn't grab your ass. Like, if I want to grab your ass, I'm pretty sure you gave me permission 20 million times to do so. I would have done it then if I wanted to. Right. So whatever. Then a week later, her 6'4" boyfriend shows up to the gym. And he rolls up on me and he like, yo, you grabbed my girl's butt. I'm like, yeah, I didn't grab your girl butt. He like, yo, you're a liar. Are you calling her a liar? Are you calling her a liar? I'm like, I'm not calling her a liar. I'm saying that she's just mistaken. I didn't grab her butt. So he swings on me and I duck. He swings on me again and I duck. I was pretty quick. My reflexes, I was an athlete, so my reflexes is pretty tight. So then he grabbed me and then like I was on the top of the bleachers. I felt like my head hit everything on the way down. Bong, 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 bong. Then it hit the floor. Long story short, somebody came over, pulled them off of me, and my homies, so to speak. I got one homie that was standing by the door to act like he didn't see anything, trying to be on his way out, and the other one was standing there, didn't help out at all. So the moral of the story is, don't be a simp.
Yep.
If you got some coochie throwing your way, take it. It's like, nah. But watch who your friends are too.
Yes.
You know, watch who your friends are, watch who you hang out with. But Coach EO's stories is very, very I think like it could have been worse. Like what if EO was on the top of a building and he fell 10 floors? He wouldn't be here right now, right? Yeah. So I've had
the edge, man. I don't trust people like that. I don't go to the edge of the
But I've had instances where you know, my mouth has got me in trouble, and I'm lucky to be here. I definitely can agree with Coach EO's story, and I tell Coach EO's story to other men. I tell his story, you know, to other men, like, yo, when you teach the red pill, you are literally saving lives.
Yes, you are.
Hey, Hotep, I love this scar, man. I look at this scar every day. I'm thankful for this scar. Had I not gotten this shit, I probably would be dead right now, to be honest with you. So that's what I try to teach, is that, you know, the onus has to go on the man. I mean, to blame a woman, that shit's embarrassing, man.
Yeah, nah, like that's my take on feminism. I say feminism is the result of a lack of masculinity. If we was in alignment, women would be in alignment. You know, it's like when I refer to God as a woman, you know, and all these dudes are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you refer to God as a woman." Like, are you insecure? Are you that insecure that you can't perceive titties on God? Because I know when I die, I want to see a beautiful pair of titties. I don't want to see a man when I die. I want to be surrounded by women.
If God was a woman, I'll bet you God has some badass titties. Like,
God's got a fat ass.
Respect if there's a God and she's a woman, I bet she's got some badass titties.
If God's a woman, that's sacrilegious to say.
Oh my goodness! Hey, listen, I'm a breast man.
We're going to hell.
Jap, what do you got on this whole the red pill saving lives? Do you have a story where you got your ass kicked, almost got your ass kicked, or someone almost killed you or whatever? Or
talking to me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, okay. Man.
What had happened was.
All right. So, like, I got thrown into this.
Okay.
You know, it was really organic. I was just, I came from, like, I was a guy that always had girlfriends, like long-term girlfriends. I never was like dating like that. I had one stint since 14 to like 21. Then right after that to like 30. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like, when I came out of that, I started to really see the dating scene, and it just, I couldn't apply what I was doing back in the days with the women that I had, because these women didn't have kids. We were young, you know, it was young love. It was fresh. It was these women were hardened. It was so much stuff that I was learning. And then as I, you know, kept vlogging, like I went viral on Facebook, just vlogging about my experiences, and I was doing it on my way to work every day, just talking about the dating scene.
Oh,
and I was just talking about, like, you know, dating single moms, or dating, you know what I'm saying, you know, chicks with degrees that, you know, feel all entitled, just talking about what happens and the disrespect that men was getting. And the main thing that stuck was just like dating single moms. And from there, I just developed a really logical mind. And I think that a lot of us who discover this so-called red pill, so-called manosphere, I kind of got thrown into it, and I embrace it. But the thing is like, I didn't know what it was. And once my mind got to the point where it's like, I'm super logical. I learn from my mistakes. I analyze every mistake. I analyze every situation. And when I put the information out there, a lot of brothers gravitated towards it because it was so organic. It was so raw.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, you know, I got put on it was a website called blackmenvent.com.
Okay.
And they were going viral. And they put like a couple of my videos up, just me talking about dating in today's time. And I was just raw and uncut, just spewing it. And after that, I got thrown into it. I had to keep talking about it. And I was talking about things, and then people started to learn from my experiences and started to identify with it. And then I became, Minister Jap. And then, when I go out now, his brother's like, man, your channel saved my life. I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah.
I was going through hell with women, and I just talk about the hell that I went through and how I overcame it. I get calls all the time talking about how dudes dealing with their mothers, all the way to their sisters, and all the way into their girlfriends. I went through it all. And we just analyzed everything, and I just got a raw delivery, and it just resonated with, a lot of the younger generation and street dudes, truck drivers, blue collar guys that just want to hear it raw. They don't, some people may not make it to the Rollo Tomasi level. They'll start off with me, and then I'll bring them there. Like, hey, you need to go check them out. Because a lot of guys didn't even know about Tom Likas till I told them.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm getting calls about that because those were the things that I started binge watching. And the Hodge twins, I'm not going to lie to you, the Hodge twins in the Raw back in like 2015 or so, when they were just like doing it. Yeah, like when they was just taking the emails, I was listening to those emails. I'm like, man, I'm going through that crap. So I was like, I didn't think I would be doing this now. It just kind of came organically. And, it's crazy. I never thought I'd see brothers like really like shaking my hand, like pulling me to the side, like, bro, like even when I went down to Atlanta, I'm in the mall with my girl, they pulling me to the side, like, bro, you Minister Jap, your channel changed my life. And I'm funny, I do all that, but I try to bring in real life aspects of things that I went through, that I learned from. And it just seems that it's touching the hearts of the people. And that's just how I discovered the red pill. It was just organic, and that was just me analyzing the faults and the situations that I was in.
Okay, very good. So, Allie, give us the woman's perspective on how the red pill saves lives, because I'm of the mind that when the red pill saves men's lives, it has the potential to save a lot more female lives. And the reason I say this is because of guys like Elliot Rodger, Alec Manassian, Sung-Wee Cho, Nicholas Cruz, etc., etc. I've never heard of a mass pew-pewer who was great with women. And no, women aren't necessary for a man's happiness, but if a man has at least a rudimentary understanding of the way women work, he doesn't feel the need to go off and, spray bullets everywhere. But talk about the discovery, talk about how the red pill has changed or helped your life from a female perspective.
Man, well, number one, we got to be able to put mama on the chopping block. It is so counterproductive, because when men are talking about modern women, they're really talking about pathological women. So I come from more of a framework where I'm trying to help women rewire their brains from maternal narcissism, right? And it's very prevalent, and you can't critique women. So my story was more so that I grew up in a single mother home. And the things that I endured, it's probably can't get into entire details, but it set me so far back psychologically and in the dating market as well. And had I not had healthy male mentorship, I wouldn't have been able to help myself, because I didn't have a father in the home or any real father figures. There's a lot of feminine men out there. They're selling out these young girls. We do need guidance, because you can't get honesty from your mom.
Nope.
Right? So I ended up joining the military, and that was where I started finding a lot of male mentorship, because I was a combat medic specialist. I never saw combat though, but I was listening to the men around me that were more successful. And I was thinking, well, man, how can I improve the state of my life? And I would talk to these guys one-on-one, and these are medical providers that have deployed, and they are also successful in their private lives. They've got healthy marriages. They've got hot wives. They've got children. So I would just listen to what they said, and they would always push me to take things a step further. For example, one conversation that I had with one of my male mentors, he basically explained to me that I could probably run a marathon. I was asking him, I'm like, do you really think that I could do something like that? And he's telling me, yeah, definitely, with enough training and enough time. So you take these little lessons along the way. And I started realizing that men are good and that men are valuable. And then I started noticing that a lot of my girlfriends, that they were just in an echo chamber of women.
Right.
And it starts with that maternal narcissism. I mean, these are very hard concepts for me to kind of explain. I ended up meeting my fiance, and him and I would talk. He's been red pilled for a long time. And I was telling him that I was tired of this bad female behavior because I used to think there was something wrong with me, that there was something wrong with me, that I couldn't maintain female friendships. No, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure these heifers are just straight up rude because they're not getting any type of feedback. So, so I was confessing these things to him, my struggles in socializing with women and female bullying. And he basically said, that's called something. There's this documentary called The Red Pill. I was like, there's a word for that? Because all I ever knew was that I was egalitarian. So we ended up watching the documentary, and so many things just started connecting. And I was like, oh, this is why. There's so much incentive for women to do, how can I put this? There's a lot of incentive for women to do things unchecked.
Shit. No.
Yeah,
I want to, but it's just reprehensible behavior. And at the end of the day, they're traumatizing their own kids. They're traumatizing their daughters. They're traumatizing their sons. And then their daughters are going to end up single and childless because they can't get it together psychologically. And that was a position that I was in. I was very concerned that I would end up childless and alone. So yeah, I would say that the red pill saves lives. It most definitely saved mine. My fiance's got his own origin story. Maybe we'll hear about it sometime, but that's all I got.
By the way, her fiance was mentored by Rich Cooper, and now he has an Audi R3. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I just figured I'd drop that in there. Before I go to Rolo here, I'm going to read off these super chats here quickly. JBlaze11, $5, said early night for me, but I wanted to show my support. All you men are saving not only men's lives, but women's lives too. I totally agree. Still I rise, $5, says no cap. I've lived a dope life many would envy, but trust me, without my red pill awareness, I wouldn't have been able romance all my life and max my potential. Real talk. Uncomfortable Truth has been a member for 18 months as Jap, Hotep, Donovan, and the great Rolo Historic. Jimmy in Dallas says, stop sedating yourself. Deal with your shit. Thanks for sharing, Coach. Appreciate that. Dre Raven says, hold on. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Bust. Amen. Very nice. I don't know who that was, but that was good. Cam Depper with the $14 Canadian says, after getting a consult from Myron, I quit a 20-year pot addiction and now work full-time and enroll in Charlie's quarterly course and invest in crypto. I watch and respect all you guys. Thanks, y'all. Let me come directly to Rolo at this because we have...
Hey, Don, whose mic is that going right now?
Yeah, somebody's rustling.
Oh, am I rustling?
I think that's EO.
Is it?
I'll mute for a second, see if it goes away. Hang on.
I might got it up too loud.
EO's got that industrial mic, man. It picks up like
I know.
Sounds like out in the parking lot. Hashtag porta potty game.
That's a new joint.
That's an inside joke. So we just heard all of these, Rolo, and even you admitted, you're like, listen, man, I get emails all the time, and out in the real world, people take me aside, and the woman gave you the note. Why is it that we catch so much hate online? Why don't people ever hate on us to our faces? Why do they do it in the chat or in the comments? Why is it?
What's easier?
Wait, who are these people? Yeah, tell us, please, educate us.
Well, I mean, it's easier to do that. I mean, I hate to once again quote Rich Cooper, but it's hate only comes from below. But it's also it's easy, it's convenient. I mean, it's part of the internet age right now. It's I forget who was saying it, but somebody says, you wouldn't say half the stuff that you say online if that person was like straight up there in your face, right? Of course not. And, Myron and Fresh will do these occasionally. We'll do these call-in shows and say, okay, guys, if you're a hater, here's your chance. Here's your chance. And like very, very few people legitimately call in and spew hate at them because they don't want to say it like, live in real time. And they don't honestly, most of the hate comes from sort of an emotional base. It doesn't come from anything that is substantial. It doesn't come from anything that is like an issue based disagreement. I mean, it's one thing to have sort of this like kind of crazy emotional hate. It's another thing to say, hey, you know what? I think you're wrong. And I encourage that all the time. I encouraged that since day one. You can go back to my earliest articles. You can go back to even my So Suave post where I say, if you think I'm full of shit, please tell me. Yes. Because that's the only way that we're going to be able to sort of suss out what it is it is a strong idea and what is not a strong idea. And that's one of the reasons why I was really reluctant to even start a blog back in the day, because I was really more into having this like back and forth, discussion where if I put out a point or I made an assertion, there was like 10 other people there who could add something to it, or they could disagree with it. And then we would hash it out. And that was the marketplace of ideas that was like internet forums. We don't even really do forums that much anymore. Maybe on Reddit, I guess, maybe we still do. But So Suave is still there to its credit, but still it was this marketplace of ideas. And as I've said before, I'll say it again, is that the only way to test the strength of an idea is in the crucible of open debate.
That's right.
And that's the problem, is most people who are haters are bad debaters.
Yes.
They have no point. It's all they want to say is you're a cult leader, or you have a messiah complex, or they have to turn whatever that I talk about when it comes to like rational empirical. All I do is show data sets. And I go, here's what I'm connecting. I'm doing exactly the same thing I did back in 2002. Yep. I go and I say, here's what I'm seeing. Here's the dots I'm connecting. What do you think about this? Here's how I think it fits into, this, and this, right? Yeah. And from there, I go with it. And sometimes those revelations, like seeing those data sets, are really uncomfortable for people, men and for women, by the way. In fact, I think I get more hate from men than I do from women, certainly recently. I wouldn't say maybe not Michaela Peterson, but let's just, as far as historically, it's mostly guys who don't like having that. They don't want to be unplugged. They don't want to give up those sort of those blue pill ideals to confront the new information that we have as part of like social media and access to, research, there'll be something on the Atlantic next week. There'll be something on Huffington Post next week. There'll be something on whatever that one was that we were quoting this morning on Rule Zero. There'll be another article about how a third of men under the age of 30 aren't having sex. That's old news. That's old data. That is like 2018 from the GSS study, but we're still talking about it here in 2022. And now they're comfortable in talking about it. But when I talked about it back in 2018, it's, you guys are obsessed with your dicks. That's what it was all about. But now it's cool to talk about that. Now it's okay. Now it's edgy for these people to talk about that. And that's what I'm talking about, is like, it's this emotional center. If it provokes, if it leads, it bleeds. If it's clickbaity, then now it's okay to talk about those things. But it wasn't okay for a guy to talk about those things back when they first came out. And so that's what triggered the hate, but it was still based on data. It was still based on stats. And that's what people have the most difficulty with. And so when I put that out there, they have an emotional reaction against just basically empirical data. I'm saying, well, how do you parse this out? Let's talk about this. They don't want to talk about it because it conflicts with their ego investments in whatever it is that their hopes and their dreams and their beliefs are, because it shatters those things. To even question, to even ask the questions that I'm asking is tough for them to confront. And so when I get into that, I'm dealing with guys who want to say, well, the red pill is an ideology, or it's a philosophy, or it's a religion, or it's a cult, or it's a belief set. And all of that is like couched in emotionalism. Yes. Whereas I have from day one tried to be as objective as I possibly can. I know that it's impossible to be 100% objective in any assessment. I get that, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. And so that's what I do. Since day one, I have an obligation to objective truth. And that really rubs people the wrong way. The only way they can confront that is by turning the red pill into a belief. Yep. Because that's the only way they win the argument. Yep. That's the only way they go, I don't want to answer that question because you're a bad person for having asked it in the first place. So that's where a lot of that hate comes from. It's not about the issues. It's not about the data. It's not about the points I'm making. It's about the fact that I questioned something in the very first place. And I'm a bad man for making you think about that question.
I want to say something too. What you said about bait this is because, it's so logical. And it goes against everything that they were raised to believe. It takes a lot of people out of their comfort zone.
And it's not just a religious thing, though. It's also like you were raised by a culture that taught you this is how you get with a girl, right? This is what carry her books home from school. Be nice. Be her friend, right?
People are comfortable with the lie. But what you're going to notice is that you'll get more video responses. You'll get more comments before you ever get confrontation.
What?
Everybody in here, listen to me. Everybody in here who has a radio show leave our lines open. We put our link there. We don't get these people who have this passion to actually step up and to challenge the actual person that's saying it.
Right.
They rather say it on their platform and then have their little minions come along and do that. Like, for instance, I have situations where I've talked about traveling for sex. Okay. And no one,
you aren't going to say it. So
I don't understand, you know, and I don't agree with that. And that's my right to not agree with that and to teach my people to don't go buy sex. But there's a community that is hard pressed to do so. And I have a number that they can call while I'm talking about it, where they can confront and speak to me.
And they never do they?
They don't. They rather make a video. So a lot of this too, Rollo, is clout chasing, because what they're going to be is the aha guys, and they rather do the doxing, the aha. I'm better than him, because it's almost a jealousy thing. But the fact that they can challenge you on their platform and get monetary value from it and clicks, they'd rather do that than to actually challenge you and to be proven wrong. So they're going to continue to talk over there and not talk to you.
Because they know that their opinions can't withstand criticism.
Right.
Or challenge.
And that's why it's always very brief. Sabo, I don't think I've ever gotten your take on this, but something that
Yo, could you mute yourself real quick? I'm sorry.
Hey,
my apologies. That mic is definitely picking up heavy.
Oh, do I need to?
You guys think it's my microphone? You think it's mine?
No, it is. My bad.
When you mute, it goes away.
You can hear you tapping your phone.
I don't hear any of that.
I'm not muted right now, but I'll mute it anyway.
Okay. All right. Neo's voice is just so, like, everything he does is so comes through the mic.
I got the same mic too.
But Kevin, what I have discovered, and what you will find out in this community is, and Rollo, you actually said this, and we talked about this on the Red Man group many moons ago, is that our biggest critics and detractors were always women. Every once in a while there was a male feminist, but that has drastically changed. The overwhelming majority of our detractors and haters are men. Women don't have to hate on us anymore. It is my assertion that the reason why so many men take this tact is because YouTube incentivizes this, right? When it comes to, and even Myron and Fresh, they've actually talked about this before. Anytime they do Money Mondays, they have maybe, a couple hundred people watching. But when they're doing, Delusional Bimbo gets kicked to the curb or whatever the case may be, then, it's standing room only.
12,000 views.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Live views, I should say.
Well, by the way, the culture of old order thinking we're raised in is like being indoctrinated into a cult in and of itself, is it not?
Incredible.
So then to call someone like Rollo a cult leader is sort of not even being honest about our culture and the way that we indoctrinate people into belief to begin with.
Absolutely.
It just always seems like we don't have an issue with radicalization, do we? Do we really? Do we say, like, if we look at a community like this, we're opposed to it because it's radical? But it's not radicalization we're mad at, is it? Because we have no issue with the radical left. We have no issue with radical feminism. It's sort of like there's a certain group that is allowed to be radical that the media and the culture will stand with. It's just a community like this isn't allowed to be radical.
Right.
We got to tone it down.
They're more concerned with the rhetoric than the results.
Yeah,
because if they would have looked at the results of what a Rollo or what a Donovan, I mean, we've got plenty of fan mail of people telling us how much this has impacted their lives.
Right.
That will never be on the forefront.
Nope.
It's just the small clips and the rhetoric and maybe how it was said or what it went against that was a social norm that shocks people and scares people. But the results, has it changed lives? Has it impacted lives? Has it made men commit violence against women?
Yeah, they don't care.
We don't have a violent community against women. We have a community where men are not taking shit from women and we're willing to walk away. And it takes their power away. I think we have a league of extraordinary gentlemen.
Yeah, I agree. So let me ask you this, Kevin. Why are most of our haters men? Why are they no longer women?
They're trying to show off for the girls.
Dude,
Yes.
for a girl
Oh,
who gets
sorry.
her ass kicked.
They try, no, but and it's funny. And I was actually sitting here thinking also, feminists would be pissed to see a pretty girl here nodding along to what Rolo's
my
saying and
God,
smiling at the
yes.
notion of what Rolo's saying.
I got
Because
a.
actually, sorry, go ahead, Rolo.
I was going to say, I just have a really brief story, really quick
Yeah, go
story. It was in at the quote unquote patriarchs convention in May of 2019.
Oh, I
And
remember that.
I sat there and listened for about three hours to a man who was worried and concerned that we were going to that the red pill was going to lead to the next Elliot Rodgers, was going to lead to the next radicalize, like
Was it
as
the
you were
Indian
saying
guy,
before,
Rolo?
lead to the radicalization of these young men who don't have anything to live for, and they're just going to get despondent, and they're not ready for the red pill. And he was very concerned about that. And do you know who that gentleman was?
Who?
Jack Murphy.
Are
Yes.
you kidding?
No shit. About 3 years ago. And so, and I remember that. And I think it's the height of irony that he was the guy who was like very close to that Roman McClay guy who was the shooter in Denver back in December.
Yes.
And I think we all know what he amounted to in that time. But that I think is a really good example of like this sort of concern that it's mostly I noticed there's two kinds of hate. There's the guys who are like really, really concerned that, you guys are not positive enough and you're not giving these guys, guidance and setting them down the right path. And then there's the guys who just simply don't want to listen to what you have to say because it's too raw. It's too much for them. And they don't know how to use the red pill in a constructive way. They don't have, like, it's that discontent where it's like you can use discontent destructively or you can use it constructively. They don't know how to use it constructively once they have the sort of red pill awareness. They put on the red pill lens and they see this all over the place. And it can be overwhelming. I get that. But it's at some point you're going to have to use it to your betterment and leverage it so you can live a better life.
That, to me, that's a masculine trait, to be able to use it constructively rather than destructively. I'm gonna go Kevin. I'm gonna go Kevin, then Hotep, and then EO, then Ali. Kevin, finish your point about why most of our haters are men, or did you already answer that?
Yeah, it's as simple as that for me. It seems like, Rolo just put a nice little bow on it. It's the fact that they're trying to show off it's either showing, you know what it is? If you were to have these conversations with men behind closed doors, you get a very different result. And once it's on camera or once they get in the comment section, they're speaking to whoever's observing the conversation. They're speaking to whoever's listening in. So I don't think that men in media in general, even if it's independent media, feel like they can be themselves and be honest anymore, because look at the result that it can have. You can just get everything stripped from you. You can get everything taken from you. And the narrative is so... I'm looking at Ali in this, thinking to myself, like, the narrative is so strange that like feminism would tell her that like you're lost and confused for even being here. In other words, that like her own thoughts and feelings as her experience as a woman is invalid if it's not the same narrative as feminism.
Whew, wow.
All the time. I
All
get
the time,
that
right?
yes, I've been told that I'm a misogynist, and that would imply that I hate myself for being a woman, which, they're getting these theories from their social science professors. Like, honey, I don't believe you about your concepts because somebody with a PhD had to convince you of it. You didn't think that way before. And I have a huge issue with my professors because they taught me how to read studies. They taught me how to read empirical data. So because I look at this particular data set and they taught me how to come to conclusions, they don't like the answers that I'm getting. I've gotten into full-blown debates with professors, and they've also socially shamed me as well. Wow. And these are grown men too, who, like, if they can't even define things like toxic masculinity. So what I've seen with some of my male professors who have healthy masculinity, who are fit, who do lead their families, they very much suppress that or are in denial that they're leading their homes. Even though I can see it with my two eyes.
Sure.
They've got the wife, they're raising the kids, they're well-rounded, but they're in absolute denial because of that cognitive dissonance because they have to go to work in an institution. But I did a whole video breaking down how anthropology sold out the West and saved the East. So if you guys ever want to check that out, it's on my channel because these people are bugging. They're bugging.
Hotep, what are your thoughts on this?
I want everybody to think back to the beta cucks that you went to high school with.
Oh boy.
The most cucked of the cuck, the most simpiest of the simpy. The individual.
I was one of them, dude.
Take your time. Come on, give it to me.
The one who never got any cakes. Now, I might have been simping, but I definitely was getting some cakes, okay? Now, these are the people that run the world. Okay.
Oh God.
And they're
Yes.
upset.
Yes, they are.
And they're upset because you made fun of them, right? That's why I think it's very important. I got 3 points to make on this topic.
Let's do
It's
it.
very important that we treat people with respect, no matter how we view them. Because those dweebs, because we've abused them during their high school years, they now have a vendetta against us. Now, what we understand is that in order for the nuclear family, in order for it to be attacked, you first have to attack the masculine energy, because the masculine energy is the one that protects the family, right? That's the protector of the community. It's protector of the village, city, etc. Protector of the nation. That's why they are trying to cook. That's why they're coming after Joe Rogan, because he's like that last bastion of masculinity. So what you have to understand is point number one is we are a threat to the master. Second, the reason why these dudes, like we said before, are making content but won't come and challenge us personally is because their arguments cannot withstand scrutiny. Anybody whose arguments can withstand scrutiny, they will, in fact, be open to debate, unless your side of the argument is just absolutely ridiculous and you're just a dweeb.
Right.
Third point, again, we pose a threat. But the biggest thing about these people is the rhetoric that comes out of mainstream media, the rhetoric that comes from these beta cucks, which is contrary to our belief system. The main reason why they feel threatened is because we will render their rhetoric obsolete.
Woo. Yes.
You see, the thing is, you don't know what you don't know. But once somebody sees the truth, they can never go back to the lie.
Right. Right.
So once we present the truth and then people go to the mainstream, they go, oh, that's a lie. Because I saw the truth. EO gave me the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what the truth looks like. And therefore, that's the biggest threat. We render them obsolete.
Very good. Very well said.
I digress.
EO, I don't know how you're going to follow that up, but yeah, why is
man.
Yeah, why do we get so much hate from men?
Well, it's laziness. A lot of it is laziness, because if you're working 60 plus hours a week and trying to get your own place and become self-sufficient and furnish the place, and you're not live downstairs, in your mama's basement, you don't have time to talk shit.
Right.
I mean, do you really have time to talk shit if you're working 60 plus hours? If you hire a coach like myself or one of the other esteemed gentlemen here, if you hire a mentor early on and you're under the supervision of a guy who's going to hold you accountable and teach you things to get you ahead of the game. I mean, do you have time to talk shit?
No.
If you're getting laid, do you have time to talk shit?
Hell no.
I mean, the answer is obvious. It's like they're inept, they're lazy, and they're jealous. Okay. Now, though, that being said, I try to teach both sides of the coin, because I think if you teach nothing but wins, that is very frustrating to a person.
Yes.
So I'll tell you this. I wish I could give about 250 women that I fucked back to the game, because I lost a lot of money, a lot of time, and I ruined a lot of these women when my game was a little bit sloppy, to be honest with you. I've always been successful with women, but there was a part in my life where I was juggling women, lying to women. So there's another aspect of the game where I've ruined a lot of women. And I wish I could go back and actually and kind of do things different a little bit. So I try to teach like maybe the other side of the coin, which having a lot of women can destroy you spiritually.
Yes, it can.
I mean, it can destroy you spiritually. You can run through your money. You got to play a lot of catch up. You lose sleep. You lose your balls.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot that happens with chasing women.
Like juggling, like.
Yes.
A lot of guys think, like, if you watch that movie, How to Be a Player.
Oh, yeah. Bill Bellamy.
He had like 7 to 10 chicks. I mean, we've done that, but it is hard to do that. Oh, my
God, dude.
And people make
it's just not worth it, man.
They don't ever want to talk about the ugly side. Trying to hide, like I was juggling so many chicks. And one time I came into the movie theater with my main chick.
Uh-oh.
And I seen one of my side chicks.
Oh, no.
And she looked at me like this, but she was on a date.
Oh,
cool.
So the side bitch was on a date.
I was shaking in my boots like this is about to get ugly. And it was like,
hey, Jap.
So your side bitch had a side nigga.
I used to dismantle the doorbell, man. I used to turn all the lights off. It looked like a church in my house. I had nothing but candles on. And women would be like, did you pay your utility bill? I'm like, no, my bitch is outside looking, bro.
You feel me?
So, it's just there's other sides that we can teach, and it's like like I said, I think I've slept with too many women in my life, and now I didn't become joyful in my life until I stopped being promiscuous, until I started. When I let alcohol go, when I became very disciplined and routine with my schedule. And really, I've said this before, really creating this business saved my life. I needed something higher to live for. Like I said, I was a hotshot salesman, easy 6 figures a year, driving luxury cars, fucking champagne, all that shit. But I was never really happy, man. It wasn't until I actually became the coach and it started to become very disciplined and focused on helping men and helping myself that I actually became joyful.
Wow, very good. Let me tell a quick story before I read these super chats, and then we'll go around the panel with the last question. I'm fairly convinced that EO and I, we're probably the same person. We're probably dating the same woman because they're almost exactly the same. But I was now I used to be
the training is the same. The training.
It's all, dude, it is all the same, like down to the nano expression. But yeah, man, when things clicked in my mind and I figured out how to fuck hot girls without much initial investment, life was great for about 1.5 years, but I probably stayed in that stage for 2 years longer than I should have. Don't get me wrong. It never gets old sticking your dick in a new vagina. That never, ever gets old. However, just like EO says, sleeping with a lot of girls is fun, but it does fuck with your mental, man. I think sleeping with a lot of girls and having a lot of experience, it sort of takes some of the joy and the innocence from you. One of Devin's main complaints, and it breaks my heart that she feels this way. I'm not as affectionate as she would like me to be. And I wish I was more affectionate, but the reason I'm not is because I've seen the ugly underbelly of real of a woman's true nature. And for better or worse, that does something to a man, And it's not like I'm trying, and I don't compare other women to Dev, at least not on that level, but a lot of guys think, hey man, it's the end all be all, fuck a lot of bitches until the day you die. Look, there are very few men who can be happy doing that. And I'm not telling you that if you do that for a little while, not sow your wild oats, but get that, just live that just so you can experience it. But we're here to tell you, and I'm never going to discourage men from pursuing women, but there are a lot of older women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who are trying to tell these young girls, hey man, you guys are sleeping around and it's all fun and games, but after you turn 30, life gets tough. I wish I had, there's a guy named Danny I wanted to marry. He was in law school, but he just wasn't exciting enough for me. And now he's married. He has children. He has his own law firm. And I'm still single at 54, 55 years old because I wanted to be girl power and the flower girl and free love and all this stuff. In the same vein, on the other side of that, sleeping around for men does not have the same negative effects that it does for women, but it does have different negative effects. And one such effect is that you really do, and a lot of women say, oh, you're just jaded. Yeah, we are jaded. And I think that men, and it's funny because they think, well, you're jaded because you couldn't get laid. No, I'm jaded because I could get laid. Like I said, I've seen the worst, dude, especially
sometimes I feel like I'm haunted by the ghost of rotations past.
Oh my, dude, I'm trying to tell you. It's like,
but listen,
like they're still with me.
You're talking to guys. We're talking to guys who aren't getting laid. Right. I just mentioned that article was a third, like just about over a third of men under the age of 30 aren't getting laid. They have not. They don't understand the mystery of women, right? I explain it as this. Did you ever guys watch the very first Conan movie where Conan, the whole movie, is trying to figure out the mystery of steel, right?
Yes, right.
He finally gets to the point where he's defeated and Thulsa Doom says, oh, you're still trying to figure out the mystery of steel. Would you like me to tell you before I crucify you on the tree over here? Right. It's the least I can do for you. And so he explains the mystery of steel, which is really the premise of the whole movie. But it's like these guys are trying to figure out the mystery of women. And along comes Donovan, along comes me, along comes anybody else and goes, oh man, yeah, it's so easy. Here, let me tell you how you get laid and how I did it. And here's my notch count. And here's and it seems like it's like very self-righteous. It seems like it's very self-fulfilling, and it ruins these guys' sort of like impression of like most of the guys that I have talked to, I would say probably in the last like 2 or 3 years, I'm talking about guys who are like in their 30s and they've never even kissed a girl.
Oh
They've
my
never had
God,
sex.
dude.
They've never had a girlfriend. They're still like quote unquote perma virgins. And we call them incels or we call them ball cells or whatever else it is. These guys simply have not figured out the mystery of women. So along comes us and we go, oh, this is how you do it. Or they'll hear somebody like saying, well, you know, I had so many women and now I'm so jaded by it. And my problem is having too much women. They can't relate with that.
Can't resonate.
That resonates with that message for those guys.
No, I agree.
You know what, Rolo? I'll just say a quick point real fast.
Go ahead, Eo, you got
is
it.
that I'm starting a season 2 of a show called Batch Dating, and I'm trying to get people to understand that you need to date women in your batch, man. I mean, you're not sophisticated enough mentally to understand one of those women that are at the top tier. You can't manage her. You can't attract her. You can't keep her interested in you. You don't have enough experience. But you can kiss a woman about a notch below you, though.
Right.
Like, what's wrong with her?
Punch under
What's
your
wrong
weight,
with the woman? Yeah, what's wrong
exactly.
with the store clerk? What's wrong with, I'm not gonna talk shit, but what's wrong with the chick at Dollar General? I mean, that's your lane, buddy. Like, go get her and build something with her and stop being so frustrated.
I agree. And I think, did anybody have anything else before I finish?
Go
ahead, Jeff. You got it.
I just want to ask a young lady, with the red pill, do you feel that it helped you understand men more or understand your role as a woman more?
Ooh, good question.
What did you get more out of this? Because it's rare that we got a lot of women over here that want to be around men like us because we're considered to be chauvinist or whatever. And we're just very logical. You come from a military background.
Well, you're definitely a chauvinist there, Minister Jeff.
I understand. Get it. You know what I'm saying? Because, the military is, it's black and white.
Oh man, the military beat me into femininity. That job was so hard. I couldn't help but be a stay-at-home wife after. It was rough.
Okay.
But you were asking if it helped me to understand my role
As a
better
woman, or does it just help you understand men more?
Good question.
Well, I think understanding my role as a woman more by proxy helps me to understand men more.
Okay.
Because what I was going through was that my fiance really loved me, cared for me, and I loved him too. But I just had so much going on in between my ears from what I went through, having a modern mother going through that single mother situation. I had to cognitively reform. So I heard about this concept of femininity. Now, I was always kind at heart. I was feminine on the inside, but your girl wasn't polished. Your girl was rough. Your girl was frumpy. Okay. I lost 45 pounds. There's so much that went into that. I was a hot mess, but I was still like always in some sense a leader. So basically, when I was hearing about femininity and carrying yourself differently as a woman, and he was getting real frustrated with my behavior because I was constantly getting triggered. And then I thought,
your fiance,
okay.
Correct?
Huh?
He, as in your fiance, was getting frustrated.
Oh, yes. My fiance was getting beyond frustrated. We were just like cats and dogs in this house just because I didn't understand my cognitive dissonance and what I was going through. So I had to try femininity on in terms of, well, maybe if I learn to talk a little bit less, maybe things will be calmer. And what else did I do? I wanted to see if he would be happier if I made him home cooked meals. So I just tried these things for 2 weeks. Yep. And it worked. And so I kept doing it. And I found this out too from a book called The Proper Care and Feeding of Husbands, where she basically breaks down that a lot of the reasons why women are in crappy relationships is because they're not validating their men at all. The man is being treated like an accessory. So once I started doing that, I was getting a lot more loving too. He was more cuddly, more soft. So it was a really good thing. And I just kept doing it. At this point, it's become second nature. And also being a feminine woman helps me a ton professionally. Men are much more cooperative.
Yes,
if you're not an angry, bitter woman. They're willing to help you out. And it can be the simplest of things. I can go to one of my male friends. What do you think about if I incorporate this in my content? And he'll tell me that's a horrible idea or that's a great idea. Take it and run with it. So it's all in good nature. It's helped me so much.
Do you feel that the red pill, masculine alpha male, did it offend you at one point in time, or now do you understand it now to the point where you know that that's what men are, real men are?
It never offended me. It was more like I was unaware. I didn't understand that there were dusty men. and that they were hot, sexy men. I just was walking around aimless, completely confused in the dating market because my mom didn't know anything about dating, and I had to learn quick. So once I found out that it was okay to be attracted to an older, established, masculine, muscular man, that was life-changing because I actually had cognitive dissonance. Why am I attracted to him? This doesn't seem like something I'm supposed to be. But now I'm glad I took that leap of faith.
What did you think you were supposed to be attracted to?
Feminine men.
There you go.
You thought you were supposed to be attracted to feminine men? What made you think that?
Just providers, stability. That's what I thought. You just find a good guy, you pick one, you get a safety net.
Yep.
That's all I really knew. Because most of the women that I know, that are married to, they're not with their first choice. And I can tell you, I've been in that position before where I was not married to my first choice. But it is so much different and so rewarding when you do get your first choice. And that's a situation that I'm in now. And if more women had... Huh?
How do you treat your second choice?
Like her second choice.
Oh man. Well, he probably has his own red pill origin story from me, just being a horrible wife. So shout out to him.
He's probably in the comments.
But
Go
yeah,
ahead,
you guys have helped
us
us.
ask a couple questions.
No, that's cool, man. I guess to finish my thought, I definitely agree with Rolo and EO in this community because when most men find this community, we want just the basics. Okay, how do I get laid? Okay, you figure that out. Then after you figure out how to get laid on the regular, you grow up, you mature, and you figure out, you know what? Sex is great, but I'm doing way too much. I'm spending too much time, energy, money, wrecking my body with cocaine, whiskey, strippers, blow, whatever the case may be. And you come to a realization that, hey, you know what? The red pill really is just about true masculinity. Yeah, have fun with pretty girls when and if the opportunity presents itself. Sometimes you have to create that opportunity, of course, by talking to pretty girls that you find attractive in public. But in the end, my life is so much more fulfilling now that I'm not chasing tail all the time. It helps that I'm also in what appears to be, a good, solid, stable relationship with a woman who genuinely loves and respects me. So I think it's very important, especially for guys in this space. If you're going to vet someone in terms of whether or not you should listen to them, any man who talks about their wins and their losses, you got to listen to those guys. Listen, we have to talk about our wins because we have to show you guys that we have a track record, but we didn't just become this way just because. I didn't come out of the womb this womanizer. No, I didn't figure out women until I was 33, 34 years old, then went on a 7-year magic carpet ride in Las Vegas. And at the end of it, I said, okay, that was a great time, but what did I really what did I really accomplish? Okay, so I stuck my dick in a bunch of chicks and I make a pretty good living talking about it. But since I've started my relationship, which was right at the end of my crazy Vegas days, I've learned a lot more about masculinity and the red pill than I ever did running through hoes in Vegas. And I think that's what a lot of younger men need to really understand. The first thing that guys need to do when they find this community, you gotta read The Rational Male. It is the Rational Male is literally the Bible of the red pill. Then if you're a young guy, check out Fresh and Fit. They are these women are verifying every single thing that we talk about here in this community. After that, after you sow your wild oats, have your fun, then you listen to guys like myself, EO, Jap, Hotep, and so forth. But what men have to understand is that this is not just all black and white. It's just not about red pill, blue pill. It's not about purple pill. No. At the end of the day, it's about being a man and giving yourself permission to be a man, regardless of what anybody says. All right, let me quickly
hop in real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. Jump in, Hotep. You got it.
Yeah, I just want to talk to a few points we discussed. So first of all, when we're talking about men who glorify having multiple women, really, it's a red flag, and they probably never been with multiple women. That's why they do that. Right. Because if they did, they wouldn't glorify that.
No.
No. I can get all the on the phone right now, Hotep. That just makes me look like a douchebag. Go ahead.
I remember the last time I attempted that, I probably was in high school, and I used to just get those numbers and then, talk to them. And, so I remember I'd be on the phone with one girl and I'd pass the phone to my bro and I'd be like, yo, keep her entertained while I call the next girl.
Wow. Wow.
It was work. It was literally work
It
to
is.
entertain these women. It's like a lot of time is spent. So it's not all it's cracked up to be to have multiple women. I think the reason why you want multiple women is to keep her in check and keep yourself in check.
Yeah.
Okay. When you have multiple women, you're dating two chicks, it's really hard for you to simp on one because you're so distracted, and so you can't really fall for the one. The second
Right.
is if she knows that you have multiple, she gonna be on her best behavior,
go.
and she doesn't feel like she has a monopoly on your time. Second thing, I heard somebody was talking about. EO, he's talking about stay within your batch. I used to do something when I went to the club was I'd start with the fat chick, and I'd dance with her. I find the biggest behemoth in the building.
Woo!
And that was my boo
Yes,
for
sir.
25 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And what that did was it loosened me up and it gave me a sense of confidence.
There you go.
And then I'd step it up a rung. The funny thing is, you mentioned how to be a player.
Yes.
They say, go after the less attractive chick and
That's
the other
right.
girls. So I used
Treat
to
her like
notice
Halle
that,
Berry.
I'd be wilding out in the corner with the fat girl. All her friends is around. I'm the center of attention. And chicks is looking like, yo, who's this nigga dancing with the fat girl? And why is he dancing with the fat girl? So then when I go try to approach another girl, she's more open because she's like, oh, he must be cool because, he's not like, in here all thirsty.
Yeah,
He just
right.
wants to have a good time. So I just want to touch on those 2 points.
Good stuff.
Hey,
man.
you know what's so crazy though? Like, now that I'm older, I really I can't be a player like I was when I was young. because-
dude, I don't have the
because
time.
I can't
fam.
remember I'm almost so old that I have to be faithful because I can't remember my lies.
Yo.
Like back then, I used to remember my lies. I can't even
No.
lie. Like, I'm out.
You
it all
start confusing
straight,
their
bro.
names and
I
shit.
would, like it wouldn't even work right. I have to be an honest guy at this point
Man, it
because
kind of
I
forces you
can't
into
remember
that.
my lies to save my life. So what I'm
To me,
saying?
that's part of. Listen, to me, that's part of growing up.
Yeah.
No, women are not essential to a man's happiness. However, it would be disingenuous of all of us to sit here and say that being in a solid relationship with a woman you love and trust, with a woman who also loves and respects you, life is better. Like, listen, all the success I have is great, but it's a lot better now that I have someone to share it with, because it can be a lonely existence at times. Dr. B84 with the $5 super chat says, I think Allie's story shows how women are naturally red-pilled but don't consciously realize it, especially when they're full-blown womanist. Very good. Average Man Unplugged, $5, says, Donovan Sharpe is the reason my parents aren't visiting my grave. The red pill saved my life and the manosphere. I have the hiccups. And is needed now more than ever. King Life with the $10 super chat says, Lies make more money than the truth. Watch the Spider-Man movie again. The Green Goblin was right. They want to see you fall more than when the Daily Bugle bashed Spider-Man every chance they got. That's right. Jonah Jameson. NFT Daily News with the $100 super chat. He says, my tuition is way overdue. Great content. You guys have definitely saved lives and made more productive men. Joshua with the $10 super chat says, hey, Donovan, I called earlier because I'm new to the red pill area. Knowing that I live in California, my question is, should I make friends with red pill guys or be friends with everyone, even blue pill guys? Let's go around the panel. Rollo, what is your answer to this guy's question? He says, should I be friends with only red pill men or be friends with all the blue pill guys?
Be friends with everybody, of course.
Okay.
I think that when a lot of guys get a little confused, first of all, I don't think you have much choice, honestly.
Yeah. Right.
Finding a guy who is sort of shares your, there's no secret handshake. This isn't like the Masonic Lodge or something like that. Like, hey, are you red pill? Me too. That doesn't exist. Okay. So first of all, that's like, just throw that out of your head.
Right.
And second of all, it's kind of like, it defeats the purpose of the red pill. You need to be able to be out there in the world, so to speak, so that you can be effective. And if all you're doing is associating with guys who agree with you all the time, then you're not going to be able to, put each one tell one, basically.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that's one of the great the great things about, at least from my perspective anyway, one of the greatest things about the red pill is waiting for your moment, asking the right questions, leading the witness. You don't have to be an evangelist for the red pill. You don't have to go out there and go, hey guys, read the Rational Mail. Like, you knock on doors. Excuse me, do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior, Rolex Mossy? And here's the red, like here's the book, right?
Red pill witnesses.
Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Not
Please.
evangelize the red pill.
It'd be like that in my house.
You have to be, but see, that's the thing is like you have to be not only. I say this. I'm saying this in my fifth book primarily, but it's like women don't want to. They don't want to be told the game. They want to play the game. They want to know that you're a good player of the game. I think I've even used Hotep Jesus as an example of this because he's a good fucking player. Okay, and I don't mean play like he's a player. I mean he's a good player of the game, but he understands the underlying game while he's playing the game.
Right.
The same thing applies to guys who are quote unquote blue pill guys, like who don't know anything about this. If you know how to lead the witness, if you know how to have those conversations and wait for those moments where you can prompt guys to insight, you'll be much more effective at like sort of opening guys' minds to sort of these questions that they've never really thought about, or much more than if you go, bitches ain't nothing but tricks and hoes, right? That's not like that's the fresh and fit approach. Like my approach is like wait for your moments and exemplify the red pill in your own life, in your own your own relationships. And like I have guys who will tell me like, oh, I need to save my brother, I need to save my dad. How can I give him, like, when can I give my children, my sons your book so they don't make the same mistakes I did? And I said, you'll be much more effective by living it out. Demonstrate, do not explicate. And live it out in your daily life, live it out in your conversations, and wait for your moments. It's not that hard, especially when it comes to like talking to other guys about it. And then you can sort of feel out and decide who's the guy who's going to be open to that and who's the guy who's just like stuck in the matrix.
Okay, very good.
Another thing,
Hey, Donovan.
Get this red pill. Don't overwhelm people like a person that just converted to like Christianity or Islam.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
And you're going to scare everybody and you're going to talk yourself out of
Well,
possibility.
they'll be resistant to it. They'll
Fire for
They'll
God.
literally want to fight you in some cases.
EO, man, take it away, bro.
Let's go to Sabo.
Yeah, you know what?
Oh,
Okay.
EO then Sabo. Go ahead, EO.
No problem. I just want to say something. This is something I learned the hard way is as a man, learn how to be discreet. You can't like don't kiss and tell. Don't tell all your boys who you're fucking. Don't even tell them when you get a raise. Don't tell them how much money you make. Like just live, like be a modest man. Because men are very jealous. They'll kill you, man. I mean, they'll find a way to destroy you. And and what I mean by kill you, they'll yes. So learn how to like fuck women. Look, I'm gonna tell you. This is probably my last segment. If you don't mind, I'll just give it real quick.
Go ahead, you got it.
Be desperate for nothing in life. However, you're going to have to be desperate at first in order to see that you shouldn't have been desperate for that. Another thing is date intentionally and do everything with intention to gather data to learn your preferences. You won't know what you don't like, or you won't know what you like until you experience what you don't like. Right. So if you taste something that didn't hit your taste buds correctly, you never need to taste that again. You know that that's not for you. And so date with intention, work with intention. Don't try to jump up to the top tier job. You need to learn game. You need to learn management skills, social skills. All of this is very important. Don't rush the process. But again, just to kind of reiterate that point, as Rolo said, and I'll finish off. Don't kiss and tell. Don't brag. If you fucked a hot woman, keep it to yourself. Trust me, she'll appreciate it. And you won't build up a reputation that people will try to destroy.
I totally agree. And I am dude, I used to brag to my friends all the goddamn time.
It's getting harder to be discreet being on shows like this.
Does not go over well. Sabo, what'd you have?
It's getting harder to be discreet being on shows like this. I was just with a girl the other night that's like, you and these podcast guys, you guys are fucked up. I'm like,
every time you're just kind of like, okay. MJ Talks with the $20 super chat says the red pill saved my life and my marriage. After discovering this space, I felt this intense rage. Reading Rolo's, Chris Cooper, and CGA's books allowed me to reboot myself. Nowadays, I get more pushback from other men than women. Dude, I'm trying to tell you. Joshua, welcome to Chat Privileges. At Joshua to welcome him to the TSR family. Ninja Watcher for life with a $100 super chat. We appreciate that very, very much. Says this panel is dropping nothing but truth. Thank you, Donovan. Womanese should have a warning label because after you listen to it, your mind auto translates. Thank you, and the panel members. Yeah, Womanese is 40% off for a limited time, so be ready. King Life with the $5 super chat says the haters will never speak with statistics. They have to speak through emotions when you have factual evidence to prove your points. Absolutely. Technomage B5 has been a member for almost 2 years. Says the purpose of feminism, communism, etc. equals the deprivation of leaders. Without leaders, your families, your community suffer. Dude, I'm going to Don DeMarco that. That's real talk. Jimmy in Dallas, $5 says, cut the bullshit by EO, Thought Crime by Sevo, and the Unbreakable Rules of Masculinity are all must reads. That's right. Cut the Bullshit by EO, Thought Crime by Sabo, The Unbreakable Rules of Masculinity. That is a Hotep Jesus book. Be sure to check that out. Pat
It's a very
Stedman's,
nice cover too.
yes. Yeah, who did the cover? Who did the cover for him there, Rollo? Pat Stedman's Polish Passport with the $10 super chat said, start by dancing with the behemoth so the baddies think you're not superficial. Jordan Peterson would call that sneaky fucker game. Hotep Thomas Sewell will not approve. That's funny as hell. Let us go around the panel.
Let me hop in real fast. And
go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. You got it.
So, shout out to Rolo. I believe he did quote my book when he said, demonstrate, do not explicate.
Yes.
I appreciate that. Shout out to Rolo. And yes, he did make the cover to both of my recent releases, and they are the baddest thing on the market as far as looks are concerned. So thank you, Rolo. So really fast. First, let's touch on the thing when you said friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
If a man has friends, he's gay.
Okay.
Men don't have friends. Okay. Men have productive relationships. Okay.
All right.
If you have a friend, what you have is an enemy in secret disguises to hide their true colors. And just when you think you're close enough to be brothers, they come back and cut your throat when you ain't looking. So make sure whoever you're engaged with is somebody who's pushing you forward. This is called productive relationships. We don't do friends. Friendship is some fleeting concept. Okay.
Yes.
So that's first things first. You want to, say, should you make friends with Red Pill? No, you look at your goals. You look at where you want to be, and you surround yourself with those type of people. If you want to be in finance, you need to be around finance people. If you want to be in Bitcoin, you need to be around Bitcoin people. If you want to be in Red Pill, then you need to be around Red Pill people, right? You surround yourself with the people that are going to take you, that are going to the same place as you. Second point on demonstrate, do not explicate. You can't remember with the Red Pill in the Matrix, Neo had a choice.
Right.
They don't grab him and tie him down and say, yo, you got to take the Red Pill. It's like, yo, you can go back and
he gave him a choice.
You got a choice. So when people are ready, they will come to you. You have to, again, demonstrate, do not explicate. Just be who you are. Demonstrate the Red Pill or whatever it is that you want to demonstrate. And when people are ready, they're going to think of you and say, you know who's been doing this for longer than anybody? This individual. And they will reach out. And that at that point, they will be more receptive to the Red Pill and they'll take it without resistance.
Be the example.
Yes. You want men asking you questions. And
great segment.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. Okay, let's go around the panel. Let's give our closing thoughts and where the people can find you. Let's go, Savo. Lead us off, man.
I guess in choosing the topic, and thank you for letting me do that this time. I know we kind of went all over the board in terms of the conversation, but what had me thinking about this topic was the fact that when you really take it in and you stop taking it for granted, when you think of the seriousness of suicide, it's a really serious thing to lose somebody to suicide.
Yeah.
And if you still have a loved one that's around who contemplated taking their own life, do you really care what the motivation was? And people might find it bizarre to hear things like this. Certainly our detractors would find it bizarre to hear the red pill saves lives. Does it really save lives? But, sometimes people need the right thing at the right time. Oftentimes people cite wanting to take their own life. And sometimes people come up with what people would consider to be bizarre reasons. It was a song. It was a movie. It was a book. It was the right thing at the right time that resonated with you and gave you the motivation to keep going. So if a book like Rolo's can do that, if a channel like this can do that, if discussion like that could do that, it has its value. For a society that claims to be about suicide prevention to claim that this doesn't have value shows how stunningly full of shit our society is.
Okay, very good. And I'll also add to what Savo just said in terms of men sort of finding the red pill. um, it doesn't, or in terms of suicide, men create and destroy because of women. We create for women, we build for women, we innovate for women. But when a man goes on a pew pew spree, dude, 9 times out of 10, it's because of something a woman has done or had done to him. That's just all there is to it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, you know, women are not. No, women are very important. I'm not going to be meathead red pill guy, be like, we don't do anything for women. No. Men and women are very beneficial to each other. Unfortunately, we live in a world now where men don't really need women, but I'll tell you what, man, life is a lot better with them in it. EO, final thoughts and where the people can find you.
Yeah, man, good discussion tonight. A really great panel here. Listen, what you tend to focus on the most, you've heard this before, you keep recycling that experience. And so I would encourage you to really study your favorite content creators. I mean, are they always complaining about something, or are they providing you some solutions?
There you go.
And so I tend to be solution based. I will identify a problem, but I'll always, and I'm going to be criticized for this, but the problems of women first started with the man. And that's my mindset, and it's always going to be that mindset until I take my last breath. Maybe in another lifetime, we'll see what I come up with. But for now, the behaviors that women exhibit are the result of poor leadership from men. And I'm going to say that forever.
Okay.
And so, but great discussion. My name is Coach EO. Come on over to my channel. I do have different series for different age brackets of men. I have a series called Killing the Simp that's very popular. But I'm kind of targeting the younger guy in his 20s. I have a spinoff of LTR, which is stands for Leading the Relationship. So I teach men how to properly select a woman, but first build the man and then lead the relationship accordingly. So thanks for having me tonight. Good to see everybody.
Absolutely. Hotep, I saw you over there headbanging, man.
And I was talking to my baby. You know, I make babies for a living.
Yeah, you do.
Jap, final thoughts and tell people where they can find you.
Wait, I didn't get to say my
Oh,
piece.
my bad. I thought I was going to let you finish eating, man. I was going to let you finish eating.
YouTube.com/HotepJesus. Thank you for having me.
That Hotep
Okay.
Jesus dude.
Shout out
Name
to
your next
Tariq
child
King
after me.
Rashid, who
Got
is,
you.
yeah,
Name my name.
Hotep
I'm
lives
gonna
with,
get me. I'm
King
gonna get me a
Rashid.
white woman, and I'm gonna have me a mulatto baby and name him
Nice.
Rolo.
All right.
Make
Right.
the world
Don't say that
beige.
too
We
loud.
all
Black Twitter's
stop
gonna
the
be all
rage.
over you.
I'm about
Hotep
it.
Jesus, he's gonna put a baby in a white girl. What? How the fuck this nigga call himself a Hotep? Talking about some snow bunnies and shit. Jap, what you got?
What the hell is Rolo?
Right.
What I will say is that, a lot of us, we've all been through a lot of things. We learn from our experiences, and we actually give these guys real content based on the fact that what we learned from. Like Scarface said, I never seen a man die till I seen a man cry. And that's where, when you see grown men actually breaking down like that, is usually from putting all their resources and everything into some type of woman-like situation, and it gets violent and things like that. Like I have a show, and it was so controversial, I had to put it on Patreon. It's called The Suicidal Simp. And that's when guys believed in the fairy tale. They did everything right, but it didn't pan out the right way. And us as brothers, we can't kick them down, laugh at these brothers because they really going through stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I hope that a lot of them get information from us to where if you on that edge, you're on that ledge like that, it does save your life, because that's serious. Like I've seen the buffest, swollest, killers, you know what I'm saying, in tears. That's scary.
Yeah, man,
because
that's very scary.
Somebody is gonna get hurt.
Yep.
And we don't want to see that. We just want to make sure y'all, brother, because that's all in the mental. Yep. That's not a physical thing. That's a mental thing. So if you guys want to watch my content, go to Minister Jap Network on YouTube, Minister Jap Network on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I get banned every 30 days. So just be on the lookout, man.
Very good. Allie, final thoughts and tell the people where they can find you.
Yes. So to the women out there, you know how Hotep was saying that men don't have friends? It's the same thing for women. Girlfriends are not real, and we know they're not real because every time they get a man, they're gone. But there's reasons for that. Any woman who's about her business, let's say it's a career and she's actually trying to do something with her career, or if she has a husband and children, she's not going to be out on the town Friday evenings getting drunk because she has an actual life. So if you're feeling lonely as a woman, it's okay, right? You can build a feminine network, but that's going to take some time and you're going to have to put yourself out there. It's uncomfortable at first, but once you get some good quality women in your life, once you get that community, it's very helpful, because when you have a group of detractors as women, there's good things and there's bad things about that. Sure, you can entertain discussion, but you don't learn tips and tricks from one another because you're too busy trying to convince this woman that there's a purpose behind wanting to serve a man. So definitely get your feminine network together. And if you are struggling with dating a man and you can't get him to settle down with you, one of the best things you can do is just ask him why. Ask him what the kind of wife that he's looking for is. Does he even want marriage? Because men will tell us. They're very straight up about what they're looking for, what they're not looking for. But you have to ask the question. And I think women are afraid to because they're scared of getting that feedback. But that's okay, because at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. If he doesn't want to settle down, or if he tells you things that you can improve on, you can do that as well. It's gonna be fine. Just start listening to men. They're not all bad. They're incredibly helpful. If you need more feminine guidance, you can find my channel at Real Femme Sapien. I'm also on Instagram. That's where I give probably my more controversial takes, I think. And I have a blog too, if you want to get inside my brain. So you can check that out at realfemmesapien.com.
Okay, very well. You represented yourself very well tonight, Allie. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
And finally, Rollo, your final thoughts and where the people can find you.
I apologize if it seems like I'm distracted today, but I've been taking a lot of notes as we've been
channeling your inner Myron Gaines, right?
Well, I'm always taking notes when the conversation's good, so I don't forget about stuff later.
Good.
I stepped away from the camera for just a minute here because I had to go pick up this book real quick, which is my second book. It's Preventive Medicine. I just want to read you the intro, like the bit and the dedication is this book is dedicated to the memory of the 22 American veterans who take their lives every day in 2015. And that's why, and I dedicated to that because that's what I was dealing with at that time, and I still am today, which is kind of sad for me in some ways. I'm glad Kevin brought this up, because when I was saying in the beginning of the show how when guys come up to me or their parents come up to me and tell me that I saved their lives, or what I wrote about changed their mind and they changed their plans or their date with death. If you go and you look at the comments on that, the confidence and the safety net essay, you'll see what I'm talking about. I tend to just if people ask me about oh, well, what's the red pill ever done? That's positive. Where's the positivity in it? I usually send them to that thread.
Okay.
There's over 1,000 different, I don't want to say testimonies, but I hate doing that because I don't want to use people's personal stories. I just read that one lady's, note that means a lot to me. And so I'll read it, but I'm really reluctant to say, well, look, I've saved all these guys' lives, as if that's a flex, right? Sure. And I don't want that to be sort of my advertising for what it is that I do, because that's very personal to the people. I don't want people to go, oh, Rollo, you saved my life, but please don't use it as your advertising on the back of your book or some shit like that. And so for me, I have to be really careful about that because, again, I've dealt with veterans. I've dealt with guys who are between the ages of 45 and 65, which is the prime demographic for male suicide in the United States. And as a result of me having to counsel these guys or really sort of dig into this, I also have to look at the stats, right? We're looking at, men off themselves, successfully kill themselves 3.5 to 5 times as much as women do. That is a fact. That is a statistical fact, and it has been that way at least since 2015.
Yeah.
And again, it depends on whose numbers you're looking at and what the average is, and is it worldwide, is it the United States? So it's anywhere between 3.5 to 5 times the amount. Now, if it were women who were killing themselves at 3.5 to 5 times the amount of over men, we would have a special month dedicated to suicide, prevention amongst women. The NFL would be wearing pink or purple or whatever it is for a month, so we would all raise awareness for stuff like that. But no one is doing that. We will talk about that. We'll say, oh, men are more lonely than ever before. Yeah, okay, but what are we doing? Nothing. No one is. Well, we'll talk about it. It makes for a good, piece on the Atlantic or something like that. And we'll say, well, the reason for it is because guys don't relate well enough, and they don't make friends like women do, and they don't converse like women do, and we only have one real frame of reference when it comes to men's loneliness, or why it is that they're committing suicide, or why we get a guy like Nicholas Cruz, the high school shooter from Florida,
Douglas, right?
who was triggered. It was the catalyst for that was, of course, him breaking up with his girlfriend. Or we got Anthony Bourdain, who kills himself after Asia Argento is seen in Italy with her boy toy. And he thought he had the one. He thought he was going to live happily ever after. He thought he had his soulmate. And all it took was one instance of her, gallivanting. It was the paparazzi. And what was interesting around that I did a whole thing with Pat Campbell on that. But at that time, the first thing that she said to the guy who was taking the pictures is, please don't release those. Please, please, please. Because she was worried that Anthony Bourdain was going to off himself, because that's where guys as rich as Anthony Bourdain was, as ostensibly alpha as he was like, people are just dumbfounded why a guy like that would off himself. And I say this all the time. It's because he was blue pill. Kill the beta before it kills you. And so I have been trying to build that up, and over the course of really almost 20 years now. And so when people say, well, what's positive about the red pill? Well, you guys, you're so negative, and you're so, you guys don't bring up, all you do is just talk shit about women. All you guys do is this, all you guys do is that. And it's like, no, that's not what it's about. That might serve your brand, and it might serve your message to help you get more followers or get you certified on Instagram or the blue check on Twitter. But that doesn't help the 3.5 to 5 times, men offing themselves as a result of this. And as far as I know, no one else is doing that right now. And so when we come on the quote unquote manosphere, or whatever the hell we're going to call it, I think it's ridiculous to call it the red pill or even the manosphere at this point, because it just, that stinks. It's still, manosphere. Oh, I don't want any of that kind of stuff on me. Yeah. But when you look at what it has done, at least in the course of 20 years, over the course of that 20 years, it has been an incredibly positive, I don't say movement, but an influence on men, and continues to be up to this point. So again, I have to be very careful about saying, well, here's what it's done. Let me prove to you how positive it is. It saved 1,000 guys on this, comment thread. It saved their lives. How is that positive enough for you? And of course, people walk away from it, and I look bad for doing that, because it seems like I'm saying, well, I'm flexing on you because I saved these guys' lives, and then suddenly Rollo has a messiah complex, right? So I think that we have to. I think as far as being influencers and being teachers, we have to be careful who, this generation, what this generation of men is looking for. As I said before, a lot of these guys, they're at that point, they're on the brink, man, because they don't know what else to do with themselves. They're the Lost Boys generation. They're not enrolling in college. They don't have a plan. They're not building themselves up for anything. And because building themselves up for anything, all it does is make them, the only point for that is to make themselves more acceptable for women who aren't going to appreciate them, as Femme Sapiens said here just a minute ago. But I think we need to really be aware of, we are making an influence in guys' lives, but we have to be very careful about how we promote the fact oh, well, the red pill will save your life, right? The game will save your life. And that's a really tough sell, because you're going to get somebody who's going to say, well, then you're a cult leader. So it's just some things to keep in mind. That's why I'm glad that Kevin brought this up. I'll be on my show tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. I'll try not to do I'm not. I promise you, I'm not going to do a red meat show. I promise Michaela Peterson will not show her face on my show.
Right. And Tuesday, February 8th, I will be in Fort Lauderdale with Patrick Bet David on his show.
Yes.
That'll be 9 a.m. Eastern time. And finesse that man, Rollo. Should be fiery. I guarantee you, it will be more entertaining than the Jordan Peterson episode from Friday.
Hey, I just subscribed to the Real Film Sapiens channel, so you got.
There you go. Yeah, subscribe to Ali's channel at Real Film Sapien.
She's holding the AR, ready to go to war.
I'm trying to save these women, but they keep fighting me. It's like, you were doing yourself in, sweetie. Go ahead.
Okay.
It's triage, man. You got to save the ones you can and read Last Rites of the Dying.
There you go. That's exactly right. Deb and I are going to be flying down to Miami, I think I can't remember.
When are you going to be there? Because I'll be there at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I'll be there from the 9th through the 12th. And I remember me, you, and Myron were texting earlier today along with Aaron, and he's going to get
Yeah.
Tommy Sotomayor on the same panel. So yeah,
Mm.
we'll
That's
get
going
on
to break the internet.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Age of Machines, $5 says, great ideas. Glad you speak about all sides of the situation. Missing one part of the game means you will lose this game, not just about high value. Steam Rollin', welcome to chat privileges. At Steam Rollin' to welcome him to the TSR family. Menji says the red pill has been very beneficial for me. It's like I've been trying to solve equations without knowing the order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
That's a good That's a good analogy, by
That's
the
a very
way.
good analogy. I tried to help Olivia with her homework a couple weeks back because I thought I could turn back the clock. Didn't work. Steam Rollin', $5 super chat says, shout out to the panel, mods and live chat, giving value where it's due. Good stream, I'd suggest stretching while listening to stuff like this. Peace. Jimmy in Dallas, $5 says, kill the beta before it kills you. Kill the simp before it kills you. Fire. With that, that is going to do it for this, the second episode of the 6th season of The Six. My thanks to all of you gentlemen on the panel. My special thanks goes out to Allie B of Real Femme Sapien. Guys, please make sure you guys go and subscribe to her channel. That is going to do it for this edition of The Six. We will see you guys in 2 weeks. You guys take care. Don't watch every Sunday. Watch every Saturday. Peace.